Are you overpaying for a house?
Yes.
Could you potentially be in a situation where you are going to overpay for a house? Well, according to this Wall Street Journal article that just posted a couple weeks ago, it says that second-time homeowners, people who have about $86,000 of equity or more, tend to overpay by about 6%. I'm going to jump into that article. We're going to talk about some things you want to avoid and some local stats, whether or not we're in a seller's market, a buyer's market, and what that looks like for the next 6 to 12 months coming up next. According to this Wall Street Journal article, it says that second-time homeowners tend to overpay for properties if they have a large amount of equity going into their second home purchase. There are two theories as to why second-time homeowners tend to overpay for that second or third house. Number one, when you have more equity, you actually have more choices. You have a wider set of choices to choose from. So let's say that you have $100,000 to roll over into a second house and you're approved up to $400,000. Well, you can go up to $500,000 because you could pay $100,000 onto a $500,000 house and then pick up a mortgage for $400,000.
Nice.
Whereas a first-time homeowner may not have $100,000 saved up. They probably don't have $100,000 saved up. The second reason is that people don't want to go through the rigorous home search process. It may take a month or two to find the house that a lot of buyers are really looking for. A lot of the amenities that many people are looking for: a good price, great location with the amenities. We call this the real estate triangle. It's very hard to find all three of those things. Finding a house in a location that you want, with the amenities that you want, with the price that you want.
You can't do something. Not even me.
When you do find a house that meets that criteria, you want to scare off other buyers. So these buyers with equity to roll over, they want to get the house, they want to get the home search done quickly. And we see this in real time through the data that we've seen. I've actually done a video about this. The peak of the market is during the summer. During that period of time, kids are out of school. So between Memorial Day and Labor Day, people are trying to transition from one house to the next. They don't have a lot of time. When they find a house that meets those three criteria, they may go over, especially if they have a home to sell. We've seen this trend of rising home prices go up because of the housing shortage. Now, I still get comments from people. Just last week on Rachel's video, somebody commented that, well, home prices keep going up and the city of Fort Wayne can't maintain rising home prices because we don't have major employers that's in the city. But I think the average day citizen doesn't look at the market every day. As a real estate professional such as myself, me and my wife Francesca, we help people move to, from, and around Fort Wayne. If you're looking to move to Fort Wayne, we'd love to be your real estate agents of choice. But as we help people move to Fort Wayne, or people that are living here in Fort Wayne, the housing market inventory, it's still a seller's market. Actually, according to Upstart and the Indiana State of Realtors, we've been in a seller's market for about 6 years. As you can see from some of these charts, we don't have enough inventory to meet the current population demand. Now, Fort Wayne, Northeast Indiana, is doing slightly better than the rest of the Midwest. Ohio, Illinois, and Michigan saw slight population decrease, but Northeast Indiana saw a slight population increase. With that slight population increase, we didn't have housing demand for the people who already lived here. We don't have the demand for the people who are moving here. We're currently right now in the month of August looking at 1.5 months of inventory. A balanced market is 5.5. So we're far off from that, and we will continue to be far off from that for the next 3 to 4 years. Home inventory is increasing. New construction, they're ramping it up just off of Hathaway and Hand over there by Carroll Middle. They're building a new subdivision. They're about a quarter way through there. So throughout the city and different parts of Fort Wayne, they're building new construction. They're building more homes, but current homeowners, the other thing that's kind of a downside and is driving prices up is when a house sits on the market, let's just say for one summer, and a house hits the market and it's $235,000 and it's the month of June. The comparables for that neighborhood, there was another house that was sold maybe in the month of May for $230,000. So the new homeowner may list his house for $235,000. If it meets those three criteria that we talked about previously, someone that doesn't want to miss out, that house was listed for $235. They're going to come in at $240, okay? And that house will close in June. When it closes at $240, same neighborhood, let's just say it's Haver Hill, sees that, hey, I have a house that's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, same like type property in the same condition. They listed it for $240. I'm just going to sell mine for $240. Somebody comes in, someone who doesn't want to miss out on that house, they're going to go $5,000 over at $245. And this just continues in perpetuity until we get to the end of the summer. So let's tie all this together. If we have low inventory, the low inventory is what's driving the home prices up. Home prices are not just increasing for no reason. So let's take, for example, Haver Hill. For example, if I listed my property in the month of May for $235,000, I looked for comparables in the market. I noticed that my house could sell for $235,000 in the month of May. Low inventory, my house meets all the criteria. It's in the right location, it has the amenities, it's at the right price. A new buyer is going to come in because they're afraid that somebody else is going to snatch it up. They're going to come in at $240 in the month of June, or correction, in the month of May. Someone who lists their property, same like property, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot in Haver Hill, will see that I sold my house for $240,000, but I listed it for $235. So the subsequent seller will sell their house. They're going to list it for $240. It's got the right price, amenities, and location. Another buyer in the month of June is going to buy it for $245 because they're afraid that somebody else is going to snatch it up. And this is going to continue. So in the month of July, same subdivision, Haver Hill, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,000 square foot. Property B sold for $245. They're going to list for $245. Another buyer is going to come in and buy it for $250. So in a 3-month time frame, home prices go up $15,000 just in that same neighborhood. And we saw this phenomenon happen across the U.S. So a lot of people kind of wonder, okay, how did home prices go up so quickly? Well, buyer demand, supply and demand. There's not enough homes. It's driving up home prices. So yes, right now, home prices will continue to increase because buyer demand is high enough to maintain home prices, and we don't have inventory to meet the demand. With high demand and low inventory comes a lot of pitfalls. I talked about buyer's remorse and some things that people basically make a mistake when they first purchase a house. So I want to talk about a couple of those things and things that you want to avoid as you move into the market over the next 6 to 12 months. To avoid buyer's remorse, you're going to come up with a list of things that you want, and you want to stick to that list of things, that the top 3 things that you got to have within reason for the price point. Okay, now the location may be a little bit different, but you want to stick to those main criteria, your must-haves, or else you may end up regretting purchasing the house. If you can't get what you want, you got to be careful on being uncomfortable in that situation. Because there is low inventory, it's harder for people to find what they want. Sometimes they're going to go into a property and they start, maybe they see themselves as a handy daddy or a handy mommy, whichever one it is, right? And you see a property and it's a little bit lower. You say, okay, I can get this for a deal. All we have to do is come into the house. We can fix up the kitchen. We can do a catch-all space by the laundry room or something like that. And you think of all these projects you want to do. You want to fix up the backyard, put a pergola in the backyard. That can be a mistake because when you're moving into a house, you're already moving a lot of stuff. There's a lot going on. And a lot of times, a lot of those home pet projects get put off. And once you get into the house, maybe you're a little bit exhausted from the move. You just really don't feel like making those upgrades. As you get settled into the house, you kind of start to have a little buyer's remorse. And you're like, man, you know what? I wish I would have just went in and bought a house that was move-in ready. Okay, so my advice there is when you move into that house, think of it as move-in ready. That's how it's going to be for the next 6 months to a year. Can you live there for 6 months to a year if nothing has changed? Another thing you want to avoid is rushing into a decision. When homes hit the market, you're going to have to do quite a bit of research. And if you have a realtor, hopefully you choose us.
So pick me. Choose me.
But if you don't, make sure that you ask that realtor as many questions as possible about the property and properly vet the property. I know that homes average days on market is about 10 days, but don't let that deter you from doing your research. When you find a property, drive by that property at night. See how the neighborhood is at night. I can tell you that during the daytime, everything looks a lot different than it does at night. Ask your realtor about that subdivision. Once you find the name of the subdivision or the neighborhood, do all the research that you can do. You remember back when you used to date and you had a girlfriend and you guys broke up, a girlfriend or boyfriend, and when they broke up, you became like a little detective and you started to check on them and see what they were doing. I'm not saying that's what I did. I heard this from a friend. You want to take that same energy into researching this particular property, because this is an investment. Most people are going to stay in their houses about 6 to 7 years for their first time. So you want to do your research. Make sure you're asking all the right questions to your realtor about safety, the school district. Oftentimes when a home is listed, there's seller's disclosure. The seller must actually tell the buyer if they know if anything's wrong. But the buyer most times is just going to say, hey, I don't know how old the roof is. It was on there when I got here, and they don't really know. That's something you want to look into as well. When you're doing that research, go through the mechanicals, the plumbing, and the roof, and make sure that you get a good look at that roof, because you don't want to move in and then 2 years later have to replace anything with that roof. Now that you know some of the things to avoid in this market as we move on into a seller's market, check out my last video where I talk about down payments assistance programs through IHCDA, and I'll see you there.